Hey guys, I'm Mary and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my first quarterly series check-in. So in March I did a video cataloging all the series I was in the middle of reading, some of them completed and I just hadn't finished, or some of them I caught up on and was just waiting for new installments, but just all the ones I was in the middle of. And I decided to do a quarterly check-in on series because the number of series I have open is very large and I would like to make it smaller. I'm definitely not aiming for like only one series at a time, but definitely fewer than I have. So if you want to see the full list of series I have open, you can go check out that video. I'm not going to go run through that entire list again. I will say, as one edit, I did accidentally leave out 2 series when I made that video. I realized about a month or 2 later that somehow I had forgotten to add the Stormlight Archive series and Mistborn Era 2. I don't know how those were on that list. They totally slipped my mind. So those are 2 that should be on the list that were not listed in that original video, but in that original video I had 49 open series, which should have been 51 with those 2 and I forgot. And so now, after the end of the second quarter of the year, which is April, May, and June, my list is down to 49. So I ended up decreasing my list by 2 total series, which is not a lot, but it is progress. So I'm going to talk about the series I started and finished and caught up on and DNF'd in the last quarter. So, series I started, there were only 6 that I started over those 3 months, and first was the Gilded Age of Heiresses series by Harper St. George. This is an adult historical romance series about each one follows a different sibling in this American family, rich American family who owns an ironworks, and they're each of the siblings' stories of finding love. So I had read book 1 in April. The second series I started was the Burning Kingdom series by Tasha Suri. I read The Jasmine Throne in May as an arc. This book was published in June, and so I'm also caught up on this series because this is the first and only currently released book. The next book comes out next year, and I loved this book, so definitely excited for the second one to come out next year. Third, I started the Carekai series by Brennan. This is a duology. It is a completed duology, so the second one's published and ready for me to read, and I read book 1, I believe, at the end of May. And then I started the Supernatural Investigation series by Alston. This one is a first book in a series and the only published. It's a middle grade fantasy series, and I really liked book 1, and I'm very excited for book 2 to come out next year. So this is another new series to my list that I am caught up on. Next, I started the Well Met series by Jen DeLuca. This is an adult contemporary romance series. Currently there is a second book published and a third coming out later this year, so I would like to be getting to the second book soon so I don't get too behind on the series, but this is a contemporary romance based at a Renaissance fair, which I love. And then the last series I started was the Aurelian cycle by Rosaria Munda. This is a young adult fantasy series, and I adored this book. I also read the second book in June. I read both of these in June, and I loved both of these books. I cannot wait for the third book to come out. This book has definitely been hyped up around book 2 by several people, and I think it's totally worth the hype. It was amazing. So now, book series I finished in this quarter. I finished 7 series and had 1 DNF for a total of 8 series leaving the list. So the one series I DNF'd was From Blood and Ash series by Armentrout. I liked book 1, thought book 2 was okay, and then picked up book 3 because I thought it was the last book in the series, only to find out it is not. The series is expanded to be 6 books in total, and so after I finished book 3 and didn't like it, we were like, yeah, we're done. We're not gonna read 3 more books of this. We're done here. We're done. So took it off my list, and I am done reading that series. So the first book series I finished in the quarter was The Cursebreakers by Brigid Kemmerer. This is a young adult fantasy trilogy that the first book is kind of inspired a little bit by Beauty and the Beast, and then kind of diverges from that storyline after that, but I quite enjoyed that first book. I wish I had liked the third book better, but overall it's not a bad trilogy. I definitely would still recommend it if it's something you sound interesting. If you're more into reading YA fantasy, then you could definitely still like all 3. Then I finished the Friendzone series by Jiminez. This is a trilogy. It's an adult contemporary romance. I really didn't like book 1 in this, but I've liked book 2 and 3. So I would definitely recommend, especially book 2 and then also book 3 if you're into contemporary romance. Then I finished the Bridgerton series by Quinn. With an asterisk in that I never read book 1, but I purposely skipped book 1 because of some of the non-consensual scenes in the TV show. And I heard that the way the TV show did the scenes was actually better than the way the book did. I just said I didn't want to read that, so I just skipped book 2 and read books 2 through 8. And this series was a roller coaster. It had some books that I gave 5 stars, like this one, and some that I gave 2. It was a roller coaster, but I liked overall liked the series enough to be interested in more of Julia Quinn's works. Next, I finished the Teixcalaan duology by Arkady Martine. This is a sci-fi duology that I quite enjoyed. It's definitely heavier on the political intrigue of sci-fi, which I think I've discovered is kind of the type of sci-fi I enjoy, so I definitely would recommend this and its sequel if political intrigue sci-fi sounds interesting to you. Next, I finished the Queens of Renthia trilogy by Beth Durst, and book 2 of the trilogy was definitely my favorite, although I did very much enjoy books 1 and 3, and this series left me definitely really wanting to read more of Beth Durst, so I definitely recommend this. This is an adult fantasy trilogy, and I am excited to pick up more of her things. Next, I finished another contemporary romance trilogy, which was The Brown Sisters by Talia Hibbert. I finished book 3 this quarter, and I enjoyed this series. This is another one where book 1 was like good but not amazing, and I really liked book 2 and 3, and so I would recommend all of them, but definitely with more of an emphasis on the second, Danny Brown, and third, Eve Brown, over this one, but I know some people really love this one too, so kind of to each his own. And then the last series I finished this quarter was a young adult fantasy duology. It was the All the Stars and Teeth duology by Adalyn Grace. I just talked about this in my June wrap up and how I really thought this one was fun, but the second one was kind of a letdown. It kind of left a lot of the magic of the first one that I enjoyed, and I just didn't like it as much. I really thought she could have taken out the important plot lines in book 2 and put them into this one, because it's not very long, and make it just a better standalone than a good book 1 and a meh book 2, but I'm definitely so glad I finished the duology and didn't leave it hanging. And then lastly, I have 2 series that I caught up on this quarter, so they're all already on my list at the beginning of the quarter, still on my list, so no change in numbers, but I did catch up on them. And the first is the Tide Child Trilogy by R.J. Barker. I adore this series. I read book 2 this quarter, and I'm all caught up for book 3, which should be releasing in September. Cannot wait for it to come out. I adore this series. This series will definitely be making it on my list of top favorite completed series when I make a new list at the end of the year with new completed series, because I love it. And then lastly, it's The Singing Hill Cycle by Nghi. This is currently a 2-book novella series, and she was just contracted to write more in this world. So I read the second one this quarter, and I really enjoyed it. This world is so interesting, and I really like just getting these like dips into it with these novellas, and so I'm definitely excited for when the third one comes out. I believe next year is when it's supposed to come out. So that was my series wrap up for the quarter. As I had said in my first video, I did not set any specific goals for reading the series. I kind of just wanted to see what I ended up reading. I hadn't been tracking it like by quarter before, and so I think I'm going to continue that for this next quarter, probably till the end of the year, with my next 2 quarters of the year of just reading and then tracking, and not really having specific goals of how many I want to finish each quarter, and just kind of see what happens. And hopefully it will my number of open series will keep trending downwards. So let me know if you've read any of these series in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.